Hey everybody, thank you for listening to Filling in the Gaps. Be sure to check us out on our social media pages at Filling in the Gaps. From there you can get updates on show releases and anything special we may be doing. Sit back and enjoy the show. Should be a lot of fun.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Filling in the Gaps. My name is Rich and I'm from the heartland state of Ohio, joined by the ever creative and encouraging Cam from the biggest and baddest state of Texas. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We are a D&D podcast where every week we take a random theme and a random scenario and mash them together into something that hopefully you can use during your next game night. This is a brainstorming session. We know that running a game week after week can be exhausting, and sometimes you just need something to spark an idea. Well, we hope that by the end of this episode, you've got something to run with for your next adventure, game night, session, one shot, whatever. Cam,
Bedtime story?
Bedtime story. Dude,
Yeah.
I'm not even going to lie. I have used like D&D sessions as bedtime stories before when I was like babysitting, and it works really well. It's right up there with all the greats.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
I use them.
Cam,
I use our podcast as pickup lines. I'm all theme, attractive male inside of a bar, scenario, what's up? And then my wife grabs me and says, "We need to get out of here." And I go, "Okay, let's go."
It worked on me though. It worked on
did.
me. But Cam, you ran 2 sessions this last week. So what was going on with that? 2 sessions, not even in a week, on the same day. How you been feeling coming off of that?
The Wizards of the Coast took care of it for me, because I've just been running. I'm doing the old fashioned like get some good high quality role playing game reps in. Does that make sense? Like it's like just rep it out. So I'm running the Meet Me in Phandalin campaign. It's sort of like the D&D starter kit. I'm just running that for some new players. I figure, it can help them get introduced to the world. I will tell you, one of the sessions, we're already 2 sessions in. They absolutely love it. And last night, after doing the other session during the day, we started our session 0, and that's actually including my wife and some of my friends. These are non-D&D players, so I'm really excited to see how that sort of pans out. But
how they handle it?
Yeah, because it's like
they all non-D&D players, when they come into it, like I think they usually have some pretty creative ideas because they don't know what to expect, so they're just like firing at anything.
But you've also got, as the DM, you have some responsibility, I think, with new players to find a way to hook them in and give them their really cool shining moments. Yep. I know it might seem, trivial, especially if you're running a bunch of goblins and stuff like that. But when you give them those moments of like, okay, tell me how you killed this goblin, and like the person describes it in a way that makes you think like they should probably be arrested, that's when you know this person's hooked.
I've got him.
Like, yep, I've got him. Also,
I've got him.
FBI,
they're guilty.
yeah,
I'm recording this and calling the cops right now.
Yeah, the FBI guy that bugged your house is sitting in the van outside going, "Yep, we got him. All right, guys, move in." Yeah, so.
Get the trucks in there.
Yeah,
well, that's sweet.
Exactly.
That's good to hear, dude.
Yeah, man, it's really, really great.
My
really
session, if you guys are listening, canceled on me tonight because I got schoolwork. So screw you guys. I'm just going to hang out with all of my virtual D&D friends. No, I'm just kidding. Life happens. And that's it stinks when sessions get canceled, but it just means that I'm thinking of all those ways to kill you guys next week. So, hey, here's a shout out to you. Also, here's a shout out to the one and only Aaron living down in Columbus. He's actually our editor now. So if you guys are watching us on YouTube, or if you guys watch any of our Instagram or Twitter stories, Aaron has been putting those together every week, just a little synopsis, and taking that, making a cool little video for it. So shout out to you, Aaron. Looking forward to.
He's incredibly talented.
He really is. He really is. Like, I don't think he gets to hear it enough. So hey, if you see him on the Discord, I'll make sure you give him a shout out, pat in the back, and ask him why he has named his profile "All We Have Is Eggs." He always likes telling that story.
Yeah. I remember the first time meeting him, actually playing Overwatch. We were I was like, what is this tracer doing? Just running around the battlefield, just killing everything, and it was incredible. And I sat there and looked up at you as you were Reinhardt, just standing over me, going like, ha 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 ha. And I don't know what I was doing. I was probably just dead. But it was a wonderful experience as I watched myself get carried to a victory. So eggs is good in the virtual world and in the real world. Speaking of the real world, we have 2 plastic dice in our hands. I don't know if they're plastic. What are these? This is actually made from a high quality metal bored from the center of the earth because it's brought to us by Libris Arcana.
You're running Libris Arcana dice today.
I am.
Man.
But yeah, hey Rich, I got a question for you, man.
Oh yeah, what do you got?
Shall we roll?
Cam, I've been waiting all night for those words. Yeah, let's do it. So for those of you guys who might be new, what we are about to do is today I am rolling for our theme and Cam is rolling for our scenario. We both have two lists of 20 things on them, and after we roll our trusted D20s, we'll see what the rest of the episode is about. So, Cam, I'm ready whenever you are.
Let's do this thing.
Cam, man, that was a nice sounding roll. Like that was, just nice. Nice. That just.
Are you eating? Are you eating the sound right now?
Enough. I'm sorry. I'm kind of falling apart because that bounce. It's like a trademark to Libris Arcana dice. Like, you know how like Harley has trademarked the sound of their motorcycles. Yeah. I think Libris Arcana dice should trademark the sound of their dice because they roll well, they look good, and you know what? If you really like dice, you can get a random mystery set sent to your home every single month. And actually, you can go ahead and use our promo code FITG when placing your order to get what is it, Cam? To get how much off?
25% off.
25%? 1/4 of your order off? That means 2 of those dice that you get in that set are absolutely free. And if you actually go ahead and make a different type of order, you can get 3 sets of dice sent to you every 3 months, and you can get 25% off your first order of that too. So guys, come on, go give Libris Arcana some money, and they will give you just some noise dice. Okay, I'm sorry about that, everybody. I tried dice. I tried to do something different today for
that was high quality salesmanship.
Was it?
Yeah.
I tried. But speaking of high quality, I rolled in the 14 range for my themes today. Cam, what'd you get?
I rolled an 11.
Okay, so that means that today the theme is a nightmare where 95% of the world is stuck in time.
Yeah. So the nightmare is brought to us by Dunn. Thanks again, Dunn. You're awesome. Haven't heard from you in a while, Dunn. Hopefully you hear us. I'm calling out your name, and I miss you. Yeah. 95% of the world is stuck in time. Is brought to us by Jackie Moonshot as well. So
these are like 2 very like ethereal things.
Yes,
because like the nightmare that's already taking place in someone's head, in someone's dreamscape, unless somehow everyone's dreams are getting pulled together. But then we have 95% of the world is stuck in time. So Cam, when we think about nightmare and when we think about 95% of the world stuck in time, or maybe both those things mixed together, what's the first thing that pops into your mind? What are you seeing right now?
The first thing that comes to my mind is what's causing the stuck tag to the world itself. And then in terms of nightmare, my question is there a god of time?
In the D&D world, let me get my Storm Coast Adventurers guide from off my shelf. I will look that up real quick, but
here's what I'm thinking. If there isn't, we can make Time God. Which is also a show on CBS premiering this September. Time God.
Time God.
Hey, what's up? You ran out of time? Not anymore. It's me, Time God. So I think of this idea of, I know that we're dealing with a lot of gods in the past couple episodes that we've dealt with. Well, at least the last one. But I think of this god of time, and this god of time has been put under like a spell or something like that has made the god of time sleep, and it affects specific portions of the realm. And the reason why this god can't awaken is because it's dealing with sort of this like nightmarish scenario. And so because the god of time is asleep, it's freezing the world around it. Not freezing physically, but actually like, well, yes, freezing physically, but not freezing in the sense of like being cold, but more so in the sense of like actually stopping them from moving. And I even think like stopping them from thinking, and it's like pure, almost like a second hasn't gone by. And then for some reason, your players are immune to that.
Well, it's
or
kinda
we're
like that.
in an area.
I mean, haven't you ever had it before where I think everyone's experienced this? Like, you wake up and you're staring at your alarm and you're like, you know what, 5 more minutes. And then it just seems like you close your eyes. And in that one little just blink, what seems to you to be a blink of time, like hours go by. And you're like, oh, shoot.
Yes.
I think that there could be something there. Because I like the idea of this being something that is affecting the god of time. Or specifically, maybe it's something where 95% of the world, that might be, I don't know, maybe that's a little bit too large. But I like this idea of playing on the idea of you being almost like Inception, you know, where you're because you're in this dream world, whether it's connected or individual, time is kind of stopped because of that.
Right.
Like since you're in this like dreamscape, you're kind of outside of time. And maybe in like your personal D&D mythos, you do something where, there is specifically a place where the resting mind goes during sleep. I'm just kind of flipping through, and I found a goddess called Cher. Cher is the mistress of the night, the dark lady, and the lady of loss. So Cher is the goddess of darkness, both in its physical form and as it exists in the minds and souls of mortals. People worship Cher as the goddess of night, secrets, loss, and forgetfulness. So I like where that's going, loss and forgetfulness. I want to come back to that. She represents pains hidden but not forgotten, and vengeances carefully nurtured away from the light. She is said to have the power to make folk forget their pain or become injured to a loss, and many people in distress pray to Cher for such a blessing. So like a blessing of forgetfulness. So does that give you any ideas?
To an extent. So I think what that comes down to for me is like if there was like a catastrophe that happened and a significant portion of people in the realm asked for the ability to forget. Maybe she's, relatively popular enough so that people understand her power and her ability to bless people with removing the memory of, loss in their life. So say a catastrophe happens and a bunch of people die, and then that happens all about, it's kind of like Bruce Almighty where she's receiving too many. I don't know if I always reference movies, and I remember that you just
no, you do. You do. It's fine though. Someone out
movies.
there is understanding it.
Yeah. Somebody gets this, but it's like when Bruce Almighty receives all of the emails whenever he becomes God, and he's like, "Man, that's a lot of." He's like 13.7 million prayers in like one day, and it was only in one little zip code of Buffalo, New York. And he was like, wow, that's a lot of stuff to work with. And so she, as the god, has to like sort of freeze time maybe because she's overloaded. I don't know. That sounds pretty stupid now that I say it out loud, because it's like, no, my job, I just pictured a goddess in a cubicle, like working, going like, more TPS reports. I'm like,
more nightmare reports. Oh man.
But wow, this guy's got to forget too much stuff.
What if though? Because I like where that's going. What if it's something where, so something tragic has happened to this specific town or settlement.
Let's keep it smaller, not 95% of an entire planet or Earth.
Yeah,
I think smaller is a better way to go.
So what if because of that? What if there's something on the calendar that every single year there's some kind of reminder about what has happened? I don't know what that could be though, but there's a specific day where something happened. It could just be that there's ghosts about,
No, I think I've got something, Rich.
What do you got?
Would you like me to?
Yes.
There was an event that put someone in power, and then someone used this goddess to remove. They men in blacked this entire town of this memory.
That this ruler was put in power?
Yeah, so like this ruler did something super messed up, like I don't know, killed a bunch of people or something like that. And then the people were like, "I'm not going to follow you. I won't follow you at all." So then he says, "Oh, you know what? Instead, just remove all the bad memories of me. Take away the loss and the pain from their lives, and just have them view me as their revered leader, and I can fabricate this this story to make them see me as who I am." And then this leader is definitely corrupted and bad and all this kind of stuff. So there's some hidden secrets. And then there's like an underground type of like resistance building up against this leader that's gaining more and more traction. And then as you start to realize these things, he uses, and so this is where I'm like, it starts to fall apart for me, but maybe he uses this god to cleanse the land so that he can maintain his power. I don't know, like I feel like using the goddess to remove those memories is something that is interesting to me.
I do really like that.
Is that?
And maybe that's where so maybe that's the thing though, is that's where the nightmare comes in, is that like maybe you can, so maybe she is able to remove these things from like the waking mind, but she's not able to remove these things from like the the resting mind.
So all these people that experience these really traumatic events while they sleep,
yep,
they start to feel like, why I just keep on having this dream of seeing these dead people all around.
Exactly.
And
yep,
and so
and
you're trying to figure it out,
and they don't know where that like those memories are coming from, because they know specifically like, oh yeah, the third of the town, they didn't die because they didn't die in like a revolt. They died in like a food, like there was like a famine, or there were like these marauders that rolled through the town or something like that. So there's just these consistent nightmares. And maybe that's where, maybe he has some kind of artifact of this goddess. I think, what did I say her name was? Cher?
Cher.
Maybe he... Cher, yes.
If I could turn back time.
Is that seriously a
Hey,
Cher
look
song?
at that. Yeah.
That's actually
if
perfect.
I could find a way. Yeah, it's Cher. It's straight up Cher.
So,
okay, yeah, our goddess Cher. Yep.
So what if...
And she is a diva and lovely and the queen, so just, you know.
Oh, yes, of course.
Respect her.
So what if there's a way, though, where, like, maybe the goddess isn't doing this willingly. Maybe this tyrant has some sort of artifact that allows him to manipulate these memories. He's kind of found something. Maybe he's not even supposed to be a rightful ruler. Maybe he just had this artifact, so he just goes around doing this. And maybe the goddess reaches out to you to help you, to get your help, because she can only kind of interfere in this dreamscape. So she's looking for you to kind of go in and to help either wake this town up to the fact that it has been, you know, kind of hoodwinked, or to just find some way of pointing out that this ruler is false.
Right.
I don't know. What do you think?
Okay, so I like that. I think...
And what does that look like?
Well, let's start with I think that's a good beginning, right? Like, I think from the brainstorming perspective, we've built out, I think, the direction that would be a good way to take it. It would be, you know, she comes to your players and so on and so forth. But who do you introduce first? Do you introduce... I feel like let's say it's a mayor of a town or like a governor or something like that. I think you introduce them first. And you
introduce the town first?
You introduce the town first. And you create some bonds of relationship between the players and maybe even the mayor himself. And then he tells you, it's like a almost too good to be true kind of feeling, which is similar to what we dealt with last week, but I digress. But in the sense,
it could be though.
Go ahead.
I like that idea though. Like, even if it's just like you're kind of moving through from one place to another, and you stop at this town and they're celebrating a festival,
right,
where, like, you know, oh, we're so grateful that our king saved, over 3/4 of the town from this
Right.
plague or whatever. Like in actuality, he killed 1/4 of the town for some reason, but he's able to respin it as like he's saved 3/4 of the town.
There's a
by
video
kind of manipulating
game
these people's
called
dreams.
there's a video game called We Happy Few.
Yeah.
That sort of incorporates this idea that if you don't take your pills, you start to see the world for what it is. Whereas when you take your happy pills, the world is colorful and vibrant, and everything is good and cheeky and everything's perfect. And so I like this idea that like the pills in this case are represented by her ability to block these civilians' memories from the negative events that happen around them, as well. So I think yeah, maybe just seeing the town and being like, whoa, this is really nice town, and it's just like just like this like really like 1950s like perfect town with white picket fences, and everybody's just like smiling and happy, and then this vision underneath is this like horrific, terrible act that was sort of brought about by this king of this little town. And then so let me ask you this then. So your players walk into this world and they're like, what the hell's going on? Because this is not the normal place that we always go to, which I think was a really cool way to sort of throw your players off, because your players are most of the time sort of conditioned to see like, oh, dungeon, oh, bad thing, oh, grimy, oh, so this like pristine world would be sort of an exciting feeling for them, I would assume. But
Yeah.
how do we introduce the goddess? Cher.
Well, okay, so this is a weird way of introducing it, kind of a little bit different. I was kind of just flipping through the good old monster manual, and I flipped to a revenant on page 259. Revenants are essentially...
I was looking at that last night, actually.
Yeah, they're like undead
Yes.
born out of revenge or out of a purpose that they haven't like fulfilled, and they are neutral. They're not evil. So maybe there is someone who this person has slaughtered, and the goddess has kind of sent them back to be this like tool of revenge to take this person out, because it's undead now, so it's like immune to the memory, the effects of the memory spell. And maybe a hook is that you see this undead creature just tearing apart some town guards on like the road or something like that, and you're like, oh, we gotta step in, we gotta fight this thing. And then like halfway through the fight, this undead seems more interested in getting away than in fighting, which kind of could be like undead don't usually run, or maybe it kind of even like talks to your players and is like, I'm not the one that you should be fighting, or that classic line.
Well, listen to this part. If in cases where the revenant seeks revenge against more than one adversary, hold on, what am I looking for? Sorry, I read the wrong part of it.
No worries.
Essentially, if the revenant's body is destroyed, its soul flies forth to seek a new corpse in which to resume its hunt. And so I like the idea of your players maybe let it kill one of the guards, but then maybe your players help this guard and they kill the original body of the revenant.
Gotcha.
And then he's like, no, don't. You don't understand. Like, I'm doing something to help this town. Boom, kill him. And then, or if they don't, then obviously, you can continue on.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, after they've gotten done and everything like that, and they're like, okay, wipe our hands, took care of that weird zombie guy. Then boom, the dead corpse that he had already killed previously pops up, and he's like, as I was saying, I need to take care of something, and you guys are now in my way. I need you to just leave me be, please. And so I just think that it's really funny, like a funny visual to me is like this guy is just like, why won't you die? but he's a good guy, and he's trying to help.
Keeps going back in a different body. Yeah, I do like that.
Right?
And it kind of gives you the ability too, where kind of going back to our our history of meeting each other playing Overwatch, I think having this revenant could be a cool way of having like a payload, like where all of these guards or all of these beings, or even the king himself, is specifically targeting this revenant because it has proof. It knows. Like it even just saying these people's names or saying who it is gives it the ability to kind of break past the spell. So they're all trying to kill it. and it can't necessarily fight them or take them out, but maybe there's some kind of barrier. I know when Wes was our guest from Hit Dice, he had talked about how it would be a cool idea to have this person tainted by this magic able to break through this barrier, and maybe that's why you keep him around. You keep him around, and you escort this revenant because there's a certain door or a certain magic, or maybe he even has the ability to help you, take control of a dreamscape, and because of that, that's like your ticket in to actually defeating this tyrant.
Right.
I don't know. What do you think?
So he's essentially Leonardo DiCaprio from Inception.
Exactly.
But he's the Revenant.
Exactly.
Which wasn't Leonardo DiCaprio in a movie called The Revenant? I'm pretty positive that was the case.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So we now know the name of our Revenant.
Yeah, Leo the Revenant, and Cher, the god of
Oh gosh, what is this episode? But what if if it's something too where this depends on what your party is okay with, and if you're looking for a one shot or something like that. But what if during your party's long rest, what if they wake up in a different body?
Oh my goodness. How does that happen?
There's some kind of swap that takes place in the dreamscape, and because of that, your players wake up in the bodies of these people buried and killed by this tyrant, and these revenants kind of wake up in your body. Like Cher has kind of like swapped them. So I think with that, you would have anything that you've learned like mentally. So I think your weapon proficiency would stay the same. If you have any spells memorized, you would have that.
But you've got somebody else taking the keys to the old player character?
Exactly. Yep. Or that works, even having them wake up in each other's bodies. But I was even thinking like they wake up a mile away.
Right. Yeah. No. I'm seeing what you're saying there. My question is, how do you make that seem like your players? That's not a bad thing, or is it a bad thing?
I think it is a bad thing. But it could just be a way of, if you want a one shot and you want them to kind of do something different, or even like I said before, if a wizard would still know its memorized spell. Ranger would still, have the mental proficiency to know how to aim. A fighter might not have the strength, but might know how to wield a weapon a certain way. So you could spin it how they could still be proficient with these weapon types, maybe just a little bit weaker. And you could just do that by putting a natural, like, if they all get like a +7 to hit, you say like, well, you know what? You only get a +4 or a +3. While you're in this body and your health is this.
What do you think about this?
Yeah.
So this might turn everything on its head, but just bear with it.
Yeah.
The Revenant approaches the players. Revenant being Leonardo DiCaprio. I want him to be equally attractive as well. He comes
even
and says,
as a dead person.
Yeah, dead Leo. He says, look, I need y'all to understand something. This town is under a curse right now. They aren't able to understand their real memories, and so we need to go help them find their real memories. So he has the ability to help your players jump from dream to dream to dream to dream. It's almost as if they're moving interplanarly, I guess is the best way to put it, like plane jumping from dream to dream. And the way that they do this is this goddess who works with the Revenant freezes everyone in place, which also causes their minds to stop, which means that, or not minds to stop, but it causes them to be in sort of a sleep-like state. And so you get to enter in to a bunch of these different types of dreams, each of which sort of has their own sort of nightmarish scenarios going on inside of it, whatever they dealt with. And this is a great way for you to tell the stories of what happened so that you can build up empathy for the people of the town while building up anger towards the big bad. Then by the time that you finally get to the big bad, you can search through his memory and his dreams to find the device or item that is keeping the divine goddess Cher from being able to let everyone have their memories back to full. Yeah. Once you find that location, then you physically go in, take that item away, and that's sort of like your then you escape the castle or whatever it may be, and then she lets the memories come back up, and then boom, revolution. You know?
So you're essentially going around and fighting different people's boogeymen.
Pretty much
is what you're saying.
Yeah,
which I love that idea. Or
Yeah.
I even love the idea too. Like, what if you are okay? So you walk into this town, and as soon as you step into this certain zone, like your body, just like you like turn around and your body is just like lying on the floor. Like as soon as you step through this certain point, it's just like your body's on the ground, but you are standing there, like an ethereal version of you.
Correct.
And you're kind of moving around this town in this sort of dreamscape, and it's very like what is it, A Christmas Story with Ebenezer Scrooge, where he's like peeking in on what's going on everywhere else.
Yeah.
So you're like going around and you see that everyone in this town is just like zonked out. There's this sleep, except for this like one guy who's moving around like from like kind of house to house, from person to person. And as soon as you kind of like are aware of him and he's aware of you, he like stops by. He's like kind of over somebody's head, like pulling something out of this person's head, like this like wisp. He's collecting it in this artifact.
Yeah.
And as soon as he like sees you, he notices you. So first off, he sees your etherealness, and he finishes collecting whatever he's going to collect, and then he pulls something else out of this person's brain. And as he's pulling it out, it forms into this like boogeyman. And then maybe he leaves that there, and you're fighting this manifestation of something.
Yeah.
Maybe you're fighting the manifestation of this person's memory that their entire family was slaughtered.
Right.
So you're fighting this like horrible looking monster with this amalgamation of arms, and it's like the manifestation of murder. And when you fight it, all of a sudden, like you kind of experience this memory in its true form.
Yeah, and like the actual physical. Like I almost envision this as like everything is white. Everything is like outlined in white with like an undertone of blue. So like your background, it's like just a black and white picture, but mixed with like a wispy white as your black outlines, and vice versa.
You
know
have
what I
like,
mean?
yeah, you have like an Assassin's Creed moment.
Yeah.
You know, like when you actually assassinate the person, and then it's just like, we're gonna have us a little intimate conversation real quick.
Right.
Like you have like one of those moments, but in this memory, and in this memory, you are truly just like bystanding. You're just watching what happens.
Correct.
So then you kind of like are tracking down, what house is this person in next, and you're fighting all of these. Every time you're there, he throws this other boogeyman at you. Like maybe you fight this creature who's just the manifestation of hunger because this family starved to death because this king's been starving them, or this other one. Maybe in another house, you're fighting this manifestation of just like execution. So you're fighting these bodies with no heads, or you're fighting heads that are just like kind of hung there by some kind of rope, or there's one head that has all these ropes coming off of it, like a weird octopus beholder type thing, and it's fighting you.
I think
and
that
you're kind
if
of fighting every house's boogeyman.
You're fighting like their tyrannical fears, which are their baseline boogeymen. So it's like the fears that are derive from tyranny. That's what these are going to be representative of. And then once you get past them, and each of these little, Assassin's Creed moments, like you were talking about, provides you the clues, then you're capable of going like, okay, this is where I need to go next. This is where I need to go next. And each of these areas is essentially like teaching you where to go next. And I would say that the reason for this ethereal being, and I would imagine this is the king trying to remove these old memories from these people's heads through this method,
or at least sending some kind of agents to do that for him.
Yes,
like,
something like that.
However you do it.
Yeah, I would say that. Actually, that's probably a better way to go about it. But each one is like these people were connected to him in some way or shape or form that has led to his led to the reason why he didn't trust anybody and said, I need to make sure that these people don't remember anything.
Oh, dude, now that we're doing it this way, man, I'm getting the images in my head of how this works. It's not agents. It is, you walk into this town during night, and as you're walking down the streets, dude, Vrak's gonna love this episode because he's our horror dude, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you're walking down the city streets, and there's these lanterns, these old school style Victorian lanterns.
Got it.
And as you're walking through, you can see that like at certain times in the night, certain of these lanterns, some of them glow a different color. Like some of them start glowing green or something, and they just stay green. And you're like, what? Why that light change color? That's kind of weird. You turn a corner and you see this green light, and there's this person there with his own lantern that he's holding that's glowing green, and he kind of takes something out of the fire in that lantern, like the one, like the street light, and he pulls it, and he pulls that fire down into this lantern he's holding. And the lantern he's holding, you can see this like vicious green fire just swirling around inside of it, and you see like the face of like a specter or like a moaning, howling like face inside of it. And as you turn the corner, like you see this person sees you, and when they see you, like they kind of like stand stunned for a second, or maybe like they have this hood up or something, and when they see you, they try to stop you, and that's when they they open up this hand lantern they have, and that's when this creature kind of just flows forth from it, and then they book it.
Right.
So these lanterns,
each of these,
the reason those street lights are there is when people do have these nightmares and these memories, those street lights are there to kind of capture those memories. Like it gets pulled out of their houses and into these street lights.
Yes.
And then these people, whatever you call them, like watchers, dream collectors, whatever, they go around and they collect these memories, then these bad thoughts, and they kind of dump them somewhere. And then that could be your final boss battle, is you have to fight the collection of years of these memories all at once. Or you have to find some way of dispersing it in a way that it's not going to just kill everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I think that's the best way to go. The Night Watch, by the way. Not the Night's Watch from like Game of Thrones, but the Night Watchers or something like that.
Dude, this could be a sweet Halloween episode. Like, to do something like this for Halloween.
Yeah.
Like,
definitely.
Because it's just all of the fears.
Yes.
And it doesn't even have to be, this could just be something that this town even did under the intention of, we don't want to have bad dreams, or we don't want our people to have any fear. And you create this society where during the day there's no fear, during the night there's no fear, and maybe because of that you have this society of people who are just lazy and lackadaisical and sit around doing nothing all day because there's no fear, there's no drive, there's nothing, there's no urgency.
There's nothing that pushes them forward or anything like that.
Exactly, and maybe even because of that, there's just all this, like, you know, maybe there's even this threat that's getting ready to attack this town, and your party knows about it, and you're trying to make these people care, and nobody does. It's just like, we're just not afraid. Like, what's the worst that can happen? They just seem very, like,
dull, or
very, very, very dulled.
Yeah. I love that.
And then they have these nightmarish dreams.
Yeah, that's the way to go. I like the idea that at the very least, the goddess of Cher, as we said earlier, she is the reason why they are capable of doing what we're talking about.
Gotcha. Yep.
Yeah. I think that's like at least like the fuel for the fire. And going
back to Cher too, that's something that it said certain people pray for this blessing of forgetfulness. Mm-hmm. So maybe this whole town, something so tragic happened that they prayed that prayer and Cher answered it.
Yeah.
And your party is kind of put into that position of, once you kind of get to the end of the rabbit trail, do we let them remember this thing or not?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I cut you off. Keep going.
No. I actually like that. Cut me off anytime you want to, man. Anytime you want to. Just remember that. You can cut me anytime, all the time.
I can cut you anytime. I'll cut you.
You can cut me so good, you wish I'd never been cut so good. No, but I think that it's smart to present the players with like a really hard decision, which is, we can let them see the truth, and sometimes the truth is the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. But maybe it's not the right thing to do. Maybe they had good reason as to why, and you can give your players the nuggets of these memories. Like each time one of those beasts is defeated from the lantern, it does the thing and it sends them off into their sort of like dreamscape to see the representation of that tyrannical leader or whomever. But by the time that all comes about, you should have enough key components to tell the players, like, okay, now you're capable of doing A or B, and it's up to you. But I think that giving them that decision to make that happen is really cool, because it can go A, and then they have this, like, let's say the decision A is, leave it the way it is and let this town just be, I guess, blissfully ignorant, or B, you release all of the truth on this town, and then the repercussions that come of that are what they are. And so, they're represented by the revolution potentially, or whatever it may be, however it came about.
Yeah. Dude, I love this. What if this leader, I know this is one of those episodes where normally this time we're kind of like finishing things. We're wrapping things up with a nice little bow.
We've also like, by this time we've also been sort of in order. But I will tell you right now, if you have followed this far, congratulations. Because you think like we do.
Yeah, exactly. So what if, I'm trying to think of something that could be so horrible that everyone would want to, that the whole town would say, we want to forget this. And something I'm thinking is, what if there was this famine that was so bad and so sudden? I don't know the reason for that. It could be locust. It could be maybe this town very heavily relies on trade, and it's between two bigger cities. And maybe those two, I'm following this way too far. I'm trying to make this way too plausible. These two big cities go to war, all their troops leave. Or there's like an orc tribe that comes through and isolates this town. This town doesn't get food for forever. They're starting to starve. People are starting to die. And it gets that situation where everyone's like, okay, who's going to get food? And just out of this raw sense of this like, who, I've got to feed my family. Who are we going to feed? They start just making these terrible decisions just made
like cannibalism.
Cannibalism. Or even
killing, what's funny about that? That actually there's representations of that in the real world.
Exactly.
In modern society. In the 1940s and 50s, the Russians actually had billboards up that said, "Do not eat your children."
Exactly. And that's what I was thinking. Is that type of thing of like either killing their children or eating their children or the people who are like the down and outs in their society. Maybe there's just something so basically just something so tragic that all of this town has done, and they together said, we never want to remember this, because it's such a glitch in the economical system. Maybe even just several days later, like reprieve came, and they just all said, we want to forget this. Like, we want to forget that, like, Cher, we want to forget this, or we want to die. Like, please give us one of the answers to this prayer. And she chose forgetfulness. And I can even see,
they went to Cher, and they were like, hey, if we could turn back time, if we could find a way, if we could hold you in our arms one more time again.
I was wondering where this is going to go. But even, like, there's so many cool things you could do where, like, your players end up in a sewer, and there's all of these just photographs, all of these toys, all of these things down there, and you're like, what the heck is going on? Like, every house has a room that everyone's like, I don't know what's in that room. Or there's like these hidden doors. Like, there's so much you could do with that.
Yeah. There's so much you could do with that. Yeah. Are you like an Italian salesman or something like that? You're like, hey, there's so much you could do with this. Let me tell you what you could do with this. I got a story for you. You ever heard it? It's about your mother. Anyways, let's do a summary, and then you can do a synopsis, and then we can get out of this editing mess. By the way, for a little pull back the curtain, everybody, hey, just to let you know, this episode has been technically difficult, but to say the least. Anywho.
I don't remember that, Cam. I don't. Something about my memories about the editing of this session just seem
to be.
I can't.
Fading away.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry, guys. My computer has been just taking a poop today.
He has poop
with Audacity. poop computer.
New from Apple.
Yes. But okay,
All right,
so if I'm doing the synopsis this week, you want to go ahead and good luck, my friend, giving a summary for this week's episode, because it has changed like 5 times.
Dear God. So let's start with Cher the God. Cher the God is in this town. Actually, you know what? Better yet, we're going to start with you get into this town, just random town, and it's sort of like a small miniature kingdom. It has like a castle and all these different things, and you realize that everybody's sort of hunky-dory. They don't really care about anything. It's almost like no one gives a jack squat about anything at all. And throughout the day, you're like, man, what is going on here? And at night, you start to see these people called night watchers, is what they're referred to by the townspeople, go from lantern to lantern, absorbing some of the lights from each of the lanterns around the town, but they're absorbing them magically. And each time they go inside of one of their lanterns themselves, they turn to like this vicious green hue and become like monsters and stuff like that within inside the lantern itself. Well, one of these night watchers notices y'all seeing this happen, and y'all as in your players, and they decide to let it out, and it's a manifestation of a really bad dream. After you fight this thing and defeat it, the dream itself pops up and sort of plays itself out in front of you as if you were in the same room that it actually happened. Later you are approached by a revenant, as you seem to maybe they have some way of finding out that you knew about this. The revenant takes you to the goddess Cher. Cher is has the ability to erase people's memories, and they tell you the story of this terrible, awful thing that happened in this town. And so you go through those processes a few more times to find sort of the source of it all, and then you are finally presented with the ability to either provide everyone a free and clear memory, or in other words, continue on the way it has been, or to provide them all the truth that they had pushed away for such a long time beforehand. And that's where you sort of leave it in terms of this right there, and let your players make that decision. That's the summary. That actually was incredibly hard, I got to be honest.
Yeah, because it was all over the place.
My goodness.
I think something that would be cool is to come back to this idea, because I feel like we just now got it.
Yeah.
Like we just now were like, this is it. It would be sweet to, because we said this would be a good Halloween session.
Yeah.
To have like we just now kind of figured out Twitch, to sometime get our Discord together, anyone who can, and do kind of like hey, let's make a Halloween session together.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
I'm down with that. We'll do a Halloween special on Twitch. I'm all about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But okay, so it's my turn for the synopsis. Okay, so here we go. Your party... Okay, here we go. A light mist hovers over the cobblestones as your party makes its way down a Victorian corridor. Along the streets are these tall, sharp-edged lampposts, each giving off a faint orange hue, except for one. It flickers with a green flame, and then another to your right, one behind you. This odd phenomena almost seems to follow you through these empty, dark city streets until eventually you turn a corner and you see a man with a hood pulled up over his head, holding a lantern in his hands. He opens the lantern and begins to pull the green flame off of a lamppost and into his lantern, and you hear in the background a low wail, the patter of feet, some kind of cry for help. The man traps the green flame into his lantern, and as he turns and looks at you, he opens it back up, and this green flame, almost viscous and fluid-like, pours out of the lantern and into the streets, forming this amalgamation of terrified-looking faces, hands hungrily reaching for something. It pulls itself into a solid shape and begins barreling down the streets towards your party. The cacophonous screams of those who have passed away just echoing in your mind as it rises up and lashes out for an attack. And then the continuation of that would be, once you kill this thing, it turns, and after you see this memory, you see just this small boy with green eyes and perfectly white everything else, like a ghost, just stands there before you, and he kind of runs up and taps one of your players as if a game of tag is being played, and then he begins running off, and your party is left with the decision of, do we chase this boy, or what the heck happened? Do we leave this town post haste? But that's my synopsis.
That was a Michael Jordan flu game level synopsis. 59 points. 8 rebounds.
I don't know if I told you this before, but I know me and Vrak have talked about how we both love the horror genre. As soon as I got, that's why I'm excited now at the end of the episode instead of the beginning, because I just now got the image of what the heck is happening.
Because that's the thing. When we do these episodes, it's such a difficult proposition, but I think the moment one of us hits the image in the head level, then we get it. It's like, okay, cool. Yeah. And then you or me, we paint that picture back to the other one, and then we're like, oh, we're on the right track. We know which way to go. But, man, sometimes you can hit them and you just go, man, I am banging my head against the wall right now and not capable of finding something out. But I like this. I like this idea because I like that we still barely hit on the frozen people thing. You know what you know what I'm thinking about? But, still.
Well, I think it's like a they're frozen in bed type thing.
Right.
Like, this whole entire town is asleep, and maybe it's every single night this happens, and so your party, after finding this ghost child, stays, and it's like, okay, we've got to unravel this mystery. And I even like the idea that all of these ghosts, all of these spirits that live in these people's dreams, they want kind of revenge. Like, they're pushing your party, like, we want these people to know what they've done for us. We don't want them to forget. But at the same time, your party sees, this, but I can see that conflict of, but is it better? Is it better just to let them forget? Is there another way we can ease these spirits' pain?
Yeah, man.
So I could see that being a really good, really good sesh.
Oh man, what an episode! What
I know, right?
I'm holding my eyes back. Oh my goodness, that was a tough one.
We did it.
Yeah,
we did it, folks.
I feel like I need a cigarette.
Yes. Oh man. But I do want to come back. I think this would be sweet to have everyone on the Discord be able to get on Twitch and let's make a Halloween session together. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Cam, do you want to tell the good people how they could follow us on Discord and Reddit and all that stuff in case they want to be a part of that?
You can follow us on Reddit at Filling in the Gaps. It's spelled Filling in the Gaps, FILLINGINTHEGAPS. The only one that's not spelt that way is Twitter. Twitter's a little bit more hip. It's just filling in the gaps. There's no G.
Ooh, whoa, our edgy cousin.
Yes, yeah. Twitter actually has a gun on it at all times. It's weird. It's like this,
filling in the gaps.
He's like a bad boy. He's like, "What's up? I also play with firearms." So you can do that on Reddit. You can do that on Twitch, you can do that on Twitter, you can do it on Instagram, you can follow us on SoundCloud as well, you can leave us a review.
YouTube too?
Yeah, YouTube. You can leave us reviews on iTunes. I'm actually going to take something from Wes from Hit Dice. You can leave us a 5-star, or you can leave us a 1-star. Our haters are our motivators. Please, God, leave us a 5-star. All right? I'm just kidding.
But if you leave us a 1-star, give us some feedback.
Yeah. Or threaten us verbally, or one of the two. Either way. But no.
I'll cry. Cam will be motivated.
Exactly.
It'll be perfect.
Yeah. But you can follow us on all those things. Thanks again also to Libris Arcana as well for being our wonderful dice sponsor.
Our beautiful sponsors.
Yes.
Our lovely sponsors. Yeah. Our handsome sponsors.
Yes.
Our great sponsors. All the adjectives.
Yeah, exactly.
But thank you guys so much for kind of sticking. If you're still here, thank you so much for sticking out with this episode. If you liked something from this episode, if you'd like us to explore something more, hit us up on one of our platforms. We'd love to hear kind of what popped into your mind when you thought of this session. And as always, if you're ever looking for a good community to bounce ideas off of, guys, our Discord, it's small but mighty. There's a lot of great people in there who will help you figure out what can make your next session great. But thanks so much for joining us again on this episode of Filling in the Gaps. We hope it gave you guys a little spook, a little spooky scariness. I hope you guys, sleep well after listening to this one. And hope you got something that you can use to help fill in the gaps on your next game night. We'll see you guys in the next one.